103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.
In August 2011, Esther Ranson wrote an article about the loneliness she had experienced since being bereaved and living alone. She was overwhelmed by the huge response from older people who shared her experience. And in November 2011, she was invited to make a keynote speech at a conference at which she came up with the idea of creating a helpline in order to support vulnerable older people, to signpost them to projects and other services, and to break through the stigma of loneliness and isolation that often young people, older people face, along with the problems of abuse and neglect. And Silverline was then born, and it has three main functions, and those functions in supporting older people are a signposting service to link them into the many varied services that exist across the country that people often don't know about, a befriending service to combat loneliness, and a means of empowering those who may be suffering abuse and neglect, if appropriate, to transfer them to specialist service to protect them from future harm. And one of the people who signed up to become a volunteer is in the studio with me now, and that's Jenna Burry. So, Jenna, a very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Lovely to meet you.
And you.
And we were just talking off air and saying that in 2014 it is hard to believe that in a Western civilised country, as we are, that so many elderly people live alone. We often hear stories that older people maybe never see anyone, never talk to anyone, very seldom venture out of the home. And it's sometimes difficult to equate that with the society that we want to have in 2014. I mean, you yourself, looking at you, it's the first time I've met you, a young lady. What was it that made you want to become a volunteer with Silverline?
I think because I've had two elderly grandmothers who've passed away the past couple of years, they were quite lucky in the fact they had a lot of family nearby and friends. But a lot of elderly, for example, who I go to church with, they've not got that many people. And I saw Silverline advertised and I thought that was something I'd really like to do. And when you get a phone call each week and it brightens your day, I just wanted to be the person on the other end of the phone, really.
So what was the process? Take me through the process. Then you made contact, did you, with Silverline?
Yeah, I made contact with Silverline, and then they invite you for a training session, which you can do in person or over the telephone. And then I had quite a lot of training with the elderly through my job, so I didn't have to do the face-to-face training. But yeah, and then you just get paired with someone who's got similar interests. So yeah, that's how I got involved with it. And
have you been quite surprised by, doing the training, undertaking the training? As you said, your parents, were within a family. There was lots of love there and lots of support.
Yeah.
How did you come to terms then dealing with the issues that, as a volunteer with Silverline, that you're going to be dealing with by talking to people who maybe are lonely and maybe isolated?
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people just want a bit of laughter in their day, and if they've not got anyone going to see them, it's just a case of talking about the soaps or talking about your day. It is a confidential service, so you don't give too much away. They just know your first name, but you can talk about in general what you do and your day, and I just like making people a bit happier when they come off the phone, really.
So you did the training, and then after that, what then follows? What's the procedure before you then have the first person to talk to?
Someone from Silverline just contacts you and matches you with a person, so you get some information through about them, and then you just make the first call and get to know them, really, and it's like a befriending service. So yeah, you just get as many as you want, really, paired with as many people as you can fit in, really. So
the first call that you had, how did that go?
I've got quite a lot of experience with speaking to elderly people, so I just spoke normally like I'm speaking to you, and they just it just seems to flow, the conversation. So just talk about everything really in your week, but obviously just don't give away your full details.
So do you actually make contact with the person, or does the person phone you? Do you have a regular time to make contact?
Yeah, you have a set time every week. So one that I've got is at 8 o'clock on a Monday, and it's through the internet you actually ring. So I don't know their actual telephone number. You just click on the name, and it rings the person who I'm matched with. So yeah, that's how I do that.
And the contacts that you've made at the moment, are they mainly with people in a way who are isolated or have no family locally?
I think sometimes it can be people who have got family and they just feel lonely, because sometimes loneliness isn't obvious. And I think just sometimes people, if their other half's died, they just want someone to talk to get them through the day, really.
And I mean, how far can you go with this? Is the possibility, if that happened, of face-to-face meetings, or is it mainly that you're at the end, as you say, of the telephone line?
It is just at the end of the telephone line, because it's confidential, so you never actually meet the person. It's just the other end of the phone. But it's 24 hours, so some people must make the call at 2 a.m, but it's I do mine at 8 o'clock because I go to bed quite early.
Right, yeah. And there is a helpline which I'll give out now, and also we'll give it out later. The helpline for Silverline, for anybody who does want to ring, is 0800 470 80 90. So it's 0800 470 80 90 if anybody would like to contact Silverline. So how long have you been involved then now, Jenna?
I've only been involved a few months because I was moving into my next seat of my training as a solicitor. So I started working with elderly people in that job. So I decided to do this as part of that, to get some more experience with elderly people. So I've been doing it. I've applied in May, so it's since then really that I've been involved.
And the training that you undertook, was it quite extensive? Were there lots of things that you discovered perhaps also about yourself during the training?
Yeah, I think the training, it actually makes you realise how many elderly people there are in society, really. And I'm a big believer that they should have a lot more respect than they sometimes get. So I'm really all for elderly people and the values they have. So I am passionate about being involved in it, really. So.
And it's quite shocking to find out that lots of elderly people sadly do suffer abuse and suffer stigma.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's not very nice. I think I help people in my day-to-day job who are elderly. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes they are. And I think volunteering, it's just an extension of what I'm doing, really. And I like doing a lot for charity. Like this November, we've got Will Aid, which is mainly for elderly people, where all the money goes to charity. So I have involvement with it in my actual job and my voluntary work.
And that's what. Tell us a little about Will Aid then.
Will Aid is in November. It's just where some firms sign up to do wills for charity. So we don't actually get any money for doing them. It all goes to charity. So people come in to see us, but we just ask for a donation to the charity. And yeah, it's just through November really that we do it.
And at the moment you've got 3 people that you're supporting. Yeah, I've been allocated to,
so hopefully I'll get more in the future.
And for anybody out there maybe who's thinking of volunteering, say specifically with Silverline, is it something that you would advise?
I'd say it's really, you think you're doing it to help people, and sometimes it can help yourself. So with me, for example, it's very much a two-way thing. I mean, things they've said to me on the phone, I've thought, that's a good way to live your life. You can get something out of it as well.
And what I mean, there are some sad statistics. More than half of all 75-year-olds in the UK live alone, and 1 in 10 suffer intense loneliness but are reluctant to ask for help. And in a poll conducted to mark the national launch of Silverline in 2013, 9 out of 10 older people told researchers that a chat on the phone is the most helpful solution when they feel lonely. but 1 in 4 older people say they never or seldom have someone to chat to on the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, they are such sad statistics, aren't they?
It is. It's very sad, like I say. I mean, when my grandma was quite poorly, she kept saying, "Oh, I'm lonely in the day." But a lot, like my mum, for example, works nights, and she was there in the day, and I went every night, and all my family rallied round, and my grandma felt lonely. So goodness knows what other people must feel when they've not got as big a family, or, you know, it's something I really feel passionate about, because my grandma, she said at times she was lonely even though she had a lot of people. So it's not nice, and I have a lot of respect for the elderly, and I just wanted to do something to help in my own time rather than just be my paid job. I wanted to do something to help.
And if you, again, for anybody listening who maybe would be up for doing the volunteer with Silverline, because there must be so many people out there who, maybe could take on this role. And as you say, there is training available. And if you do need to talk to someone, or maybe there's something worrying you, I take it that there's someone within the organisation of Silverline that you can also talk to them about your feelings.
Yeah, you're matched with a buddy who's worked at Silverline longer, because obviously I've not worked there very long, and you report back to them how it's going, if you've got any queries, and things like that. I mean, I work full time and I fit in 3 a week, so it is something that you can fit in if you stick. You have to stick to it, because that elderly person's relying on the phone call, really. So I make sure if someone invites me out on a Monday at 8 o'clock, I can't go, because that's when I ring. Right. So I do want, really want to stick to it. And yeah, when they're relying on you ringing, obviously if they don't know why you're not, it's obviously if you're on holiday, you let them know in advance, but it is a big commitment both ways, really. But yeah, it's very rewarding.
And the calls are free for callers, aren't they? I understand.
Yeah.
And what about confidentiality?
Yeah, it's completely confidential. You're not meant to discuss names, all their personal details. Like I say, I can't disclose exactly where I work and who I am. It's just first name terms, really. So it's just confidential, obviously, because there's risks if it wasn't. So, but you are checked and trained before you get to that stage with someone. So it's...
So that must be a comfort, also knowing that you have a buddy, so there is somebody there you can talk to and somebody kind of with you.
Yeah, it is, yeah, because if you had any problems or you don't feel the match was working for any reason, you can tell your buddy about that and they will raise it with the manager.
And I think Silverline also run forums, don't they, where people can talk to other people who are maybe in a similar situation. And I think, is it like a friends group online that people can contact each other? I think that's quite recent, but yeah, they can do that as well. I did some voluntary work last year for Duke of Edinburgh with Sense, and that was similar. They got people together, and I did a week away with the elderly then, so I've done quite a few things. But Silverline, obviously, I can stick to it every week, and it's something I can do every week rather than just as a one-off. So what kind of response did you get from family, friends, colleagues when you said that, you were taking the training on and this is what you wanted to do? Yeah, my Eve Carter, who I work for, she's a member of Solicitors for the Elderly, and she was really pleased because they support Silverline as one of the charities every year. So she thought it'd give a good grounding in working with the elderly, really. I originally saw it on Sports Relief when there was Bob on the advert. Yes. And it just melted my heart. So that's how I first knew about that. But yeah, like I say, it's something with elderly people that I can do every week that isn't just what I'm getting paid to do. It's actually doing it in my own time. So. And how would you like to see this develop? I'd like to see more volunteers, really. I know they're always looking for volunteers to get involved. And really, it's just knowing that elderly people have someone. I mean, we might find ourselves in a situation one day where
we've not got anyone. We might have a lot of people now, but we could be in that situation. I'd like to think there's a service that will carry on, really. I know there's been a lot more voluntary work since they had the advertisement on Sports Relief, which is how I knew about it. And through my work, I knew a bit about it. But yeah, just more volunteers, really, and more people getting involved.
And as you say, it's from your point of view, it's kind of anonymous and it's confidential. I take it, though, you actually build up a picture of the person and the person's life that you're talking to on the phone?
Yeah, you do. You obviously, I don't see a picture or anything of them, but, sometimes you can imagine what they are like. They can, like I say, elderly people can be quite entertaining, and they've always got stories to tell about, I like stories about how love used to be and all that. I love anything like that, and the soaps and all, things that people are interested in. But I love all the war stories and anything like that.
Yeah, so, nice memories of the family's childhood, etc.
And when you say you're 25, they're like, oh, when I was 25, and you just get really involved. And sometimes I think I should have been born in that era myself.
And I would imagine that people also enjoy talking to you about what you do, age 25 these days. Yeah,
obviously I've got to keep it quiet. I can't say, I can say I'm a trainee solicitor, but not where I work or anything, so I just keep it very general. But they always like to know when I say I'm engaged, because that's always what they want, isn't it? My grandma always wanted me to get married as soon as possible.
And alongside your buddy, will there be future training with Silverline?
Yeah, the training's ongoing. So I think there's training every year, and you're reviewed as it's going along with the buddy that you're allocated to. So it's always made sure that that they're happy with talking to you, and if they weren't, they'd probably tell Silverline. But there's been no problems like that, really, because most people volunteering obviously want to do it, so there's no issues with really matching with the wrong person, because you fill in a form before with your interests in, and then you're matched accordingly to someone.
And as we said, at the moment you've got 3 contacts. Is it that can increase, can it? Is that a decision that you make, or is it in discussion with your buddy?
Yeah, I've asked for those contacts at the moment, because I think that's what I can do around work, really. So obviously they recommend half an hour phone call for each, but obviously I don't ring a bell at the end of half an hour and say that's it. So sometimes it can be a longer phone call, so I'm willing to give the time, really, when I've set that aside. But hopefully in the future I could do a few more at the weekend. But my working week can get quite long, so because I travel from near Wigan, so I've done as many as I feel I can fully commit to every week.
Right.
Yeah.
And alongside volunteering, companies can partner Silverline. I think they're looking for partners. So if you're part of a company or belong to a company, you could partner them. They're looking for support through trust or foundation. You can fundraise in your local community, and you can take part in a sporting event, a challenge to raise money, or you can donate. So even if you are not able to physically be a volunteer and support Silverline, there are many ways of raising money and helping them with a really good cause.
Yeah.
So you've not decided to run a marathon yet then to raise some money, Jenna?
Not yet, no. I think I need a bit more training.
Brilliant. So again, for anybody thinking of it, the advice you would give them of becoming a volunteer with Silverline?
Really, it's just go on the website and see how you get involved. That's how I first contacted Silverline, and then they do it from there, really. They get in contact and arrange training. There's an interview over the phone or face to face. But they're looking for volunteers all the time, really. So obviously elderly people, as you've said earlier, the statistics are frightening, really. And I think sometimes Christmas, for example, is a time that I'm thinking of really doing something to help. I'm not quite sure what I'll do yet, but what I did last year, I've done it the past few years, was send the shoe boxes to help the heroes. So this year I might do Silverline as well, but I don't know where I'd send them to because it's confidential, but probably just a set address and send some shoe boxes with some gifts in, because I do that every year for Help the Heroes, so that's something I could do this year for them.
Okay, well, Jenna, thank you for coming in today. The telephone number again for Silverline is 0800 470 80 90. So 0800 470 80 90. And if you want to get involved or make contact with them, then go online and look for the website for the Silver Line. So Jenna, it's been a pleasure meeting you this afternoon.
Yeah,
and
it's been great.
Good luck with the future of this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Sunday nights from 9. Join Steve Franklin live for Preston FM's weekly request show.
Could I have some Pink Floyd for my mum?
Gino by Dixie's Midnight Runners.
Can I request 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, please?
What a way to make a living.
Lavender by Marillion.
Sunday nights from 9. 103.2 Preston FM. The weekend stops here.